Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the April 10th, 2021 very special edition of The Breast There Is, The Breast There Was, and The Breast There Ever Will Be Wrestling Podcast. As always, I am your host, Mikey B, WWE, and tonight's very special podcast is because this weekend we have what the WWE calls the granddaddy of them all, Wrestlemania, and we got Wrestlemania over 2 nights, just as was the case last year when the WWE introduced that template when the world had shut down from the pandemic. They decided to do that again this year. I guess I'm sure there's differing opinions on that, but I think perhaps if they're going to be doing a 5-hour show anyways, it might be best to split it up, because that's what they've been doing in recent years anyways. So I think maybe it's a good idea to have it split. But so WrestleMania, of course, also this year will be back in front of some live spectators, which is great. It's going to be in Tampa, Florida, which it was supposed to be last year before things got canceled, or at least postponed rather. It's going to be great. I've been saying and preaching all along that the WWE doesn't run properly without the fans. And since they've had that Thunderdome implemented, I guess many months ago now, it was the product was a lot weaker when you couldn't have legitimate reactions from fans. We, the fans, we've always been there to dictate to the company what we like, what we don't like, what works, what does not work. So I'm excited to watch these events, this 2-night event rather, because we're going to actually get to see some fan reaction to the matches taking place. So between the 2 nights, according to WWE.com, we have a total of 14 matches listed. So I guess without further ado, I'm going to start with the matches for night 1. I am going to list them all here in this podcast. I'm not going to do a 2-part podcast for WrestleMania since all the matches appear to be etched in stone now. So I'm just going to go ahead and fire away. And I should also note, as I've been doing throughout the first 4 years of my podcast, I have not been including any matches which are listed as a kickoff match or which wind up being a kickoff match come showtime. That policy I will change coming up in my 5th season of my podcast, which will commence after this WrestleMania event. But just to keep in line with what I've been doing so far, I will not include any kickoff matches if they wind up appearing on the kickoff show towards my overall prediction tally, which I will also I have to share how I've done in season 4 of my podcast as well. So lots to get to in the next few podcasts. But now let's deal with WrestleMania 37, which starts tonight. The opening match is one of the top title matches. It is for the WWE Championship, featuring champion Bobby Lashley taking on Drew McIntyre. This one I had a little bit of reservation about before I learned that the WWE plans to have it being the opening match on the card. And why this factor is important is because the WWE traditionally, Vince McMahon himself, seems to always steer towards a very upbeat, happy beginning to WrestleMania. That seems to be what he's done in most years, and especially this year with the first time we're having fans back in attendance in over a year for WWE. It's all the more important to start off the show with a good, positive crowd reaction. And on top of that, I've also felt for a little while that this matchup, while it seems like a pretty good one, it doesn't seem to me as though this was the original championship match that the WWE had envisioned for WrestleMania. I do believe Drew McIntyre was scheduled to be a part of this, but I question if Bobby Lashley was supposed to be champion going in. My personal feeling was that when The Miz cashed in his Money in the Bank, they were likely going to have him featured in a match against Drew McIntyre. But because now The Miz got embroiled in a feud with Bad Bunny, musician Bad Bunny, that took over his storyline changed, and they needed someone else to fill in the championship spot. So that's why I think that the storyline kind of swiftly went from Miz cashing in his Money in the Bank, winning the WWE Championship, and then losing it promptly to Bobby Lashley within a week or two. So anyways, having said all of that, I do feel that Drew McIntyre will regain his belt. He lost it anyways, again, under the dubious circumstance of the Money in the Bank cash-in. So I'm definitely wagering on Drew McIntyre opening up things on a positive note here, winning back his WWE Championship. It's tough to say if this will be a feud that carries forward. I think it could. I think it does have some potential since these two haven't really locked up yet and had a program together. So, but regardless, Drew McIntyre is my pick to win the opening match of WrestleMania Night 1 and to win the WWE Championship. Moving on to the second match, and I'm just going to go through the order that the WWE.com website has them listed, so I'm sure this order will also change, just not including that match I just stated, because they already mentioned that would be the opener. But the second match on the card is for the SmackDown Women's Championship, with the champion Sasha Banks taking on Bianca Belair. To me, this should be a good match, and Sasha Banks is certainly a quality champion. She's a future WWE Hall of Famer without question. She's someone that's won the title many times. However, Bianca Belair won the Royal Rumble match. She is clearly on the rise. I think the company is giving her a push. And tonight, I think she's going to capture, in her first WrestleMania matchup, mind you, I think she's going to capture the SmackDown Women's Championship over Sasha. And I do believe this is a feud that will definitely continue on regardless. But for tonight's predictions, Bianca Belair is my pick to win the SmackDown Women's Championship. Moving on to the third match. I already mentioned The Miz and his involvement in the WWE Championship picture in recent months. So The Miz and his tag team buddy, John Morrison, are taking on the team of Bad Bunny, the musician, and Damian Priest. If there is one lock on this entire card of WrestleMania for an outcome, I gotta say this is it. It would be bad. It would just be bad for the company to bring in a guy who is not a wrestler like Bad Bunny, who is a very popular artist right now, who performed at Royal Rumble, performed his hit song Booker T, which of course is named after the wrestler Booker T. And in fact, speaking of which, I think we might see Booker T make an appearance tonight. But regardless, Bad Bunny and Damian Priest are going to get the victory in this match. No question about it. WWE wants some good publicity here. They're not going to bring in a celebrity who's not a wrestler, who is also giving extra exposure to this company, and they're not going to bring him in on WrestleMania and have him lose. So this to me is an absolute lock. Bad Bunny and Damian Priest will win this matchup over The Miz and John Morrison. Moving on to the fourth match of the night, we have, in making his first singles match on WrestleMania in all the years he's been around, Cesaro is taking on Seth Rollins. This to me has just the makings of a feel-good story. Cesaro, and this is not just my opinion, in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, which is written by the highly acclaimed wrestling writer Dave Meltzer. He does awards every year for his Wrestling Observer newsletter, a whole slew of awards. And Cesaro, many of those years, for many consecutive years in the last decade, won the most underrated superstar wrestler there is. So Cesaro, no one can dispute, is a super talented guy. For one reason or another, the company never has given him too much of a push. I do think tonight that will change. I think he's going to earn a pinfall over Seth Rollins. This could be a program that continues, and in fact, I do think it will. Seth Rollins being the heel character right now, he's not going to like being upset here, quote-unquote upset by Cesaro. But I do think for sure in consideration of a feel-good moment, Cesaro will earn the victory over Seth Rollins here tonight. So Cesaro is my pick over Seth Rollins for that match. Moving on to the fifth match of the card tonight. It's for the Raw Tag Team Championships, which we have the champions, the tag team of the New Days, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, taking on AJ Styles and Omos, his bodyguard in recent months. And Omos is seeing his first action at WrestleMania as well. I just think that AJ Styles Omos combo is a little intriguing, a little too intriguing to ignore. And the New Day, we all know what they've done for the company and what their legacy is. They're bona fide Hall of Famers, one of the most successful tag teams in the history of the company. But it's also nice, I think, and it would be a good move for interest, to gain interest from the audience, to have a switch up here. So AJ Styles and Omos, they are my picks to win the Raw Tag Team Championships tonight. The next match on the card is a steel cage match between Braun Strowman and Shane McMahon. On other editions of my WrestleMania podcast in recent years, Shane McMahon, I think, has appeared at every single one, fighting in a match. I'm not in any way, shape, or form a fan of this happening. Shane McMahon is not a wrestler, never has been. He's wrestled in a lot of matches, but he's a guy that has never been a full-time wrestler, and he's also a guy that, like in recent years, only seems to come around for WrestleMania, which, despite his family's wealth, he wants to get a good payday over much more deserving performers who work, week in and week out throughout the entire year. I don't like it. I don't support this. I hope Braun Strowman does run it. It's a train wreck of a match, and he just destroys Shane McMahon. Like, this isn't interesting to me in one facet at all. I don't know how anyone possibly could be interested in this feud. It's stupid. Shane McMahon's not a good wrestler. He's old. Braun Strowman, meanwhile, is a beast. He should have, in fact, probably been in the main event with Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre instead of this waste of a match. But Braun Strowman's going to win this match, and Shane McMahon will, I'm sure, be back again for WrestleMania 38 to get a huge payday. But regardless, for tonight, Braun Strowman will win the steel cage match over Shane McMahon. And the seventh match listed on tonight, the seventh and final one, is the Tag Team Turmoil match, which is to earn a WWE Women's Tag Team title match on the second night of WrestleMania. And this Tag Team Turmoil match features 5 different tag teams here. We have the team of Naomi and Lana versus the team of Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke versus the Riot Squad versus Natalya and Tamina versus Carmella and Billie Kay. Natalya and Tamina, they've been feuding in recent weeks with the current women's tag team champions, Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. So at first glance, that to me would be the likely outcome, but I also think there's an angle of this storyline which I think will come to light on these 2 nights, specifically night 2, which is that the presence of Reginald, who used to be Carmella's sommelier character, who was with her, and then she wasn't treating him very well, and then he left and has now been siding with Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. I think with the Reginald factor, that's to me making my mind up for this match, which I think Carmella and Billie Kay are going to win this match, and then we're going to see some the dynamic in night 2 of that one, which I will get to in a little bit. But for tonight's purposes, my picks there are Carmella and Billie Kay to win the Tag Team Turmoil match, and they will be competing again tomorrow night. That's my prediction there. Moving on to night 2. Yeah, I'm going to do these. Since I'm already talking about the Turmoil match, I may as well continue on with that. Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax taking on the winner of the Tag Team Turmoil match from night 1. I'm going to go with, since I already just mentioned Carmella and Billie Kay being victorious here, I think that Reginald might turn on his new alliance, Nia Jax, his new supporters are Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. I think that's what's going to happen, and Reginald will help Carmella and Billie Kay win the women's tag team championships. I mean, such a variety of outcomes can happen when there's that many teams competing. This, to me, just that angle, I think, will be exploited for this particular program with all these teams. That makes the most sense to me anyways. But Shayna Baszler, Nia Jax could easily win whoever comes out of night 1. But I'm still going with Carmella and Billie Kay to win night 1 and then to come into night 2 and win the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship. So they are my pick for this match. The second match on night 2 is Kevin Owens taking on Sami Zayn. Two terrific in-ring performers. Two of the best in the company as far as I'm concerned. Kevin Owens is also, I think he's been shafted recently, in recent months before the Universal Championship title picture for WrestleMania came into focus. Kevin Owens was doing battle with Roman Reigns, and not only that, he was losing in a lot of dirty, controversial ways. So he never lost clean to Roman Reigns, which is not cool. He deserves to be in the title picture. So in my opinion, him having a victory over Sami Zayn tonight is one consolation prize for him, and hopefully he gets propelled back into the championship scene again. But Kevin Owens is my pick to defeat Sami Zayn, and even in spite of the fact that Logan Paul, that YouTube influencer guy, is going to be involved in this match, or at least he's going to be Sami Zayn's guest, I still think Kevin Owens is he's going to be the victor here in this match. Moving on to the third match of night 2, we have for the United States Championship, champion Riddle taking on Sheamus. Sheamus is, he's been such a solid performer for the last decade or so in the company, won many championships. I like him. I think he's an awesome heel character. And to me, it's been a while since he's won a title, and I also see this being a feud that will continue on beyond WrestleMania this weekend. So I like Sheamus winning this match, even though Riddle, their company's clearly been giving him a boost and a half, really, coming in, and after not long winning such a prestigious title like this. But I like Sheamus winning, and I want Sheamus to win. So Sheamus is my pick to win the United States Championship, and I do think the Sheamus-Riddle feud will most certainly extend beyond WrestleMania this weekend. So Sheamus is my pick there. The fourth match of the night is for the Raw Women's Championship. And this is with the champion Asuka taking on NXT's Rhea Ripley. And maybe I shouldn't call her NXT now because it sounds like she's promoted onto the main program now. But make no mistake, this matchup here was not what the WWE had originally slated for WrestleMania. To me, all signs were pointing to a Asuka taking on Charlotte Flair WrestleMania rematch from a few years ago that they had, which was an outstanding match. Charlotte Flair, however, was involved not long ago with a feud with oh boy, I'm drawing a blank on her name there. I can't think of her name right now. The Southern Belle, the blonde there. She was, of course, having her dad Ric Flair, like he was sticking by the Southern Belle there, and again, I don't know why I'm drawing a blank, but the Southern Belle, she's in real life been pregnant, and so she had to leave the company, and I guess they decided to remove Charlotte Flair out of the title scene. As well, it should be noted in real life, Charlotte Flair is dating the performer Andrade, who was released by WWE. And so if this also could be a behind-the-scenes little, there could be some issues, some conflict backstage, which is why Charlotte Flair is not appearing at WrestleMania here, at least in a featured match. There's, WrestleMania, there's always bound to be some surprises and some, some unexpected people turning up, but I don't think Charlotte Flair, I wouldn't expect her to see her tonight. And so this match to me just kind of came together, this Asuka Rhea Ripley match, and when a match like that comes together so quickly, I don't see a major title change happening. So Asuka, in my opinion, will retain the Raw Women's Championship over Rhea Ripley. And yeah, so that's my pick. But again, there's some little bit of backstory just to let you know, because it's been a bit of a muddled situation, a muddled program for the Raw Women's Championship scene in recent months. So there you have a little background as to why this match kind of even came to be sort of hastily. So Asuka's my pick there. Moving on to the fifth match of night 2. It's for the Intercontinental Championship in what is being called a Nigerian drum fight match, with the champion Big E taking on Apollo Crews. These two locked horns at the last pay-per-view, I believe, and I had chosen Apollo Crews to be victorious, winning the Intercontinental Championship. I was wrong. However, now that this match is this rematch is being called a Nigerian drum fight, Apollo Crews, with his, now with the character change and they're really promoting his Nigerian heritage, I would have to think that all signs are pointing to Apollo Crews being victorious here in a Nigerian drum fight match when he is, promoting his Nigerian ethnicity and his heritage. So, but this is most certainly a program which is not going anywhere. This feud is going to extend beyond WrestleMania, I believe 100%. But for my predictions, Apollo Crews is my pick to win the Intercontinental Championship over Big E. Oh, it just dawned on me, the person who from the last match, Lacey Evans, that's who the Southern Belle is, of course, and Lacey Evans is the one who left the storyline because she in real life is pregnant, so she couldn't keep a feud going with Charlotte Flair, etc., etc. So just wanted to mention that since I drew a blank a few moments ago. But that doesn't change anything as far as my predictions go. So to conclude the Intercontinental Championship match, Apollo Crews is my pick to win that and win the belt there. And moving on to the final 2 matches of night 2, we have The Fiend taking on Randy Orton. The Fiend, of course, has returned after being burned in the middle of the ring many months ago at Tables, Ladders, and Chairs, I believe was the event. Yeah, I don't see The Fiend losing to Randy Orton, coming back, being really tough and badass, and surviving being lit on fire. Plus, he's got Alexa Bliss in his corner. The Fiend is gonna be victorious in this match, as far as I'm concerned. I think there's no question on that one. As much as I love Randy Orton, and as great as Randy Orton is, this program, I think, all signs are pointing to The Fiend being victorious over Randy Orton in this one. And now, on to the final match of the 14 matches listed, and this will be the main event of night 2. And this, I gotta say, is the match that has given me the most head-scratching. This, of course, is the Universal Championship Triple Threat match with the champion Roman Reigns taking on Edge, taking on Daniel Bryan. This has given me a lot of head-scratching because the outcome is the one I'm the least certain about, pretty much on the whole WrestleMania card, I think. there is a whole wide range of outcomes that can occur. Roman Reigns, of course, has Jey Uso, who will most assuredly be by his side, who just won the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal last night on Friday Night SmackDown. So he's got some momentum, and he's also not featured in any match on the WrestleMania weekend. So Jey Uso is going to be in Roman Reigns' corner, which, of course, is, and Roman Reigns being the heel character that he is and has not lost the belt since SummerSlam, that's a huge advantage to have. Not to mention he has Paul Heyman, who will be in his corner as well. That said, even though there's a big part of me that's leaning towards Roman Reigns retaining this belt, the storyline that I can't ignore, that I like too much, is Edge returning. Not only returning last year at Royal Rumble and then competing in some big matches at WrestleMania and beyond, but then, of course, he tore his triceps and had to get more surgery done, and then returned again and returned in this Royal Rumble this year. And entered at number 1 and won the whole thing, which has only been done a few times in the history of the company. The few times that it has happened, well, at least the majority of those times, the person that has won number 1, who's entered the Royal Rumble at number 1 and won the whole thing, has gone on to WrestleMania to win the championship. The lone exception to that is way back in the early days when they added that stipulation to the Royal Rumble that the winner gets a title shot at WrestleMania. Shawn Michaels, back in 1995, for the year when WrestleMania 11 was happening, he's the only person that won the Rumble and then lost in his title championship match at WrestleMania. And not only that, not only am I siding on statistics here with the number 1, the Royal Rumble winner going on and winning the belt, I just think the story is too good to me that Edge is going to come back after all these years away. The guy's already a Hall of Famer. He's already accomplished so much in this company. And for him returning and doing this just because he loves this so much, I like his odds. And, of course, Daniel Bryan, not to be forgotten. This guy is a legend in his own right. He's done so much. He's won so many things, and he's one of the most accomplished in-ring wrestlers of all time, just like Edge. But I think Daniel Bryan's big thing was he wanted to get into the main event. I don't think he's going to. I feel like the company will still go with the better feeling, which is Edge winning, even though Daniel Bryan would surely, a lot of people in the WWE universe would be very happy with that. But this one for sure, I can see all sorts of things happening and a big controversial finish. But on this particular occasion, I'm going with my heart and my head on this. I'm thinking Edge will win. He'll win the belt, and this will set up. This program with these 3 guys can carry on for many months, with mixing in 2 of them or all 3 all going together. And I'm sure that this feud will continue with at least 2 of the guys, but I think all 3 will stay in this title hunt for a while. So Edge is my pick to be victorious and win the Universal Championship in a triple threat match on night 2 of WrestleMania. That's the one I feel least confident about, but that's WWE for you. So there you are, folks. This is my final podcast for the 4th season of my wrestling podcast. On the first episode of my 5th season, I will discuss how my predictions went for WrestleMania and bring everybody up to date on how my predictions were in season 4 moving into the 5th season. So hopefully this event will be good. On paper, it doesn't seem to be extremely exciting and have that many twists and turns, but I do hope that the WWE always keeps some tricks up their sleeves and that this will be a lot more interesting than how it looks on paper. But again, it's WrestleMania. How can you not watch it? It's the biggest event in the company's history, so I'm sure there's going to be some great WrestleMania moments too, especially now that we got an audience. There's going to be some people in the audience again live, so that's going to be awesome. So anyways, thanks very much for listening. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel below. Thanks very much for listening, guys, and we'll see you next time.